Hey, good morning everybody, it's Mike, and let's start Monday off with a good chuckle. Your text message that you received this morning said, what can societies teach us? And that's auto spell on texting, right? It's supposed to say, what can Socrates teach us? Now, Socrates was an ancient Greek philosopher that lived between 470 BC and 399 BC, so 400 to 500 years before Christ. And along with Plato and Aristotle, Socrates was one of the three great philosophers in history. He was admired primarily for his unusual integrity, for his self-mastery, and for his profound philosophical insight. He also had great skills in debating any subject, and his debating skills were what he became famous for, so that 2,500 years from now we still know who he is. And hopefully you do. If you don't, go back and talk to your high school history teacher. Socrates professed not to teach anything. Well, listen to this. This is important. Socrates professed not to teach anything, but only to seek answers through skillful questioning. And I think that's everything in our business. In fact, there's a style of debate today. The politicians don't use it, but they should. There's a style of debate today that is referred to as the Socratic Method, which is to engage in skillful questioning to show that your opponents don't know what they're talking about. So when you hear me say today, this is what I mean. When you hear me say, ask your way there, another way of saying it is practice the Socratic Method. Whether it's your kids, your spouse, or your customers, is anyone really listening to those long rambling diatribes? Is anybody really listening when you're telling them? Think about maybe your teenagers. Are they listening to you? Or have we all just become Charlie Brown's teacher? Wah, wah, wah. FSBOs, your buyers, maybe your listings, your overpriced listings, the deals that are falling apart, and we're telling people what they ought to do. We're telling FSBOs why they should list. We're telling our buyers why it's the right time to buy. We're telling our listings that they need to bring their price down. The deal that's falling apart, we're telling everybody what they need to do to keep the deal together, and we're just banging our head into a brick wall, and it's getting harder and harder and more frustrating, and the results don't seem to flow from it. Of course they don't. Instead of telling them, take a lesson from Socrates. Ask your way there. Ask skillful, thought-provoking questions, because I think what you're going to find is the same thing that I'm going to find. I could sit here with you, I can, and try to pour a 35-year career into your head, and I do that way too often, and it doesn't work because you just shut down. And when you're telling people, it doesn't work. They just shut down. Wah, wah, wah. Ask our way there. Thoughtful, skillful questions, knowing this, that the quickest way to action is through self-discovery. Or another way to say that is, it ain't true until you say it's true. I can tell you I can. But until you say it, it's not true, and there will be no action that follows it. I want to, before I conclude this morning, tell you just a real short little story, and I don't think she'll mind. One of our associates, Yasleen Elise, recently went to an industry event. And she's telling me about this because she was so shocked and appalled at how this conversation went. She's sitting there, and this other agent, female agent, comes up and sits down next to her. And Yasleen, if you know her, she's nice and she's polite, and she introduces herself. And the other agent says this to her: "Oh, you're with Century 21. Y'all are a bunch of dinosaurs." Well, nice to meet you too. And Yasleen just kind of said, I really didn't know how to respond to that. Well, Socrates would have said this: your only response is a series of questions. Oh, so you're familiar with us. You've been to our office. Well, no. Oh, okay, well then did you know that we have a full administrative team available to our agents? And does your company have that? And did you know we have a mobile showing office, a Mercedes Sprinter van that's available to all of our agents with the driver at no cost, even for the fuel? Did you know that? Well, no. And your office has something like that? Well, no. And we have our own marketing director, and we have our own social media team, and we have our own videographer, and we have our own coaching programs, and your office has all of that. Well, no. Oh. But we're the dinosaurs. And see, that's the only way you can really deal with people, is to ask them a question to allow them to discover that they don't know what they're talking about. And you can only do that by asking questions, not telling them, because when we try to tell them, it's wah, wah, wah. Your kids aren't listening to you. My wife isn't listening to me. Our customers aren't listening to us. And we're not listening to anybody else. Wah, wah, wah. Ask your way there. Take a lesson from Socrates. Practice the Socratic Method and engage people in a series of thoughtful, provoking questions and allow them to discover. Because the quickest way to action is through self-discovery, not through lectures. And you know what, folks? If we do this today, and it's hard, I say this to myself every day, and I still find myself sitting here wanting you and trying to pour 35 years into your heads, when in fact what I need to do is ask you and let you discover your way there. And I'm going to try to do better at that. And I want to ask you to go out there today and try to do better than that. Resist the temptation to tell people and ask them. And if you and I do, we're going to make it happen for ourselves today.